Hello, right arm masochist and down picking enthusiast. We are here with Grant Truesdell. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, brother.
Awesome. I'm very excited today, everyone, to have Grant here. We have been homies for a long time. It's great to see all the things you've done, all the exciting stuff, and it's been a minute since we got to catch up. So this is sort of us catching up and talking to all of you at the same time. So I'm super excited, man. How have things been?
Things have been pretty well, on the music side. Obviously, things have been pretty quiet lately, and we're taking this year off of touring and things like that. But overall, life is good. Kids are happy. Weather could be better, but yeah, doing well, man.
Nice. It's a little gloomy and rainy here today. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I'm actually enjoying it. For me, it's a perfect day to record a podcast episode, so I'm into it. For those who might not know you, right, you mentioned the band. Why don't we just do a quick little jump in of exactly which band you play for? Which band is taking a little break right now?
Sure thing. Yeah, so I play guitar in Unleash the Archers from Vancouver, Canada. Heavy power metal, for those of you who don't know. I've been playing in that band since 2011. Moved over to Vancouver from the island, Vancouver Island, to join them, and have never looked back ever since.
Hell yeah. That's how Grant and I met. He started off as the Sasquatch, everybody, and then he got promoted to guitar. So
who knows, maybe that, it'll come full circle, and that'll be my end story arc in my life. Go back to the bush, throw a bunch of pieces that I don't want it.
Yeah, right. No, but we've determined with each life cycle for you, the hair gets shorter. So
yeah.
But like you said, if we're going full circle, then it'll just, not only will you grow the hair on your head, you're just gonna let it all grow. Just fuck it. Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, it's been really cool to watch you guys come as far as you have. I mean, when we met, my group Dire Apparel played with you guys at a little shitty place in Sacramento to like 10 people, right? So to see that to where you guys are now is really awesome. So like I said, even though it's a little quiet right now, it's all right, man. You guys have done a lot. You've earned the quiet time for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we have to, and it's just life positions that we're all kind of in. We all get different things going on right now.
Right. Yeah, you've been doing some hockey stuff. I know it's not guitar related, but we're gonna ask him about hockey. How's that going, man?
It's going really good, dude. Nice. So hockey was my first love, actually, before music. So I grew up playing rep hockey as a goalie. My first dream was actually to be in the NHL, and then I discovered heavy metal, and I was really conflicted, and I was like, oh, NHL rock star, NHL rock star. I ended up choosing guitar.
Okay.
But now I'm kind of coming full circle, coming back and getting more involved in that locally. It's been really good.
The cool thing about that now is you kind of get to do both now, right? So in hindsight, it was probably the wise choice. So that's awesome. Maybe you could,
we had our first arena show last year, I guess, with Powerwolf in Montreal, and it was it felt really comfortable getting ready for a concert in a hockey locker room. It was a really cool feeling. I'm normally I'm in here lacing up skates, but I'm putting on some tight pants right now. I'm ready to go play for a arena full of metalheads.
There you go, man. Yeah, see, perfect.
You know that I'm a very passion and meaning driven person, so I don't think there's anything that I would do in life that I'm not my whole heart and soul isn't behind it. So that's why, being home here right now, not touring, I was okay, what can I do to, one, create something more locally for myself, my family, business wise, but then also something that I also just genuinely love being a part of. And so, yeah, music and hockey, it's my life right now. Music, hockey, and being a dad. It's pretty sweet.
That's awesome, man. I love that for you. Maiden had their soccer team. Maybe it's time for UTA to have a hockey team.
Wow, that's actually not a bad idea.
I'm just saying, man. Yep. I don't know if anyone else in the group is into hockey like you, but that'd be cool.
You know what? I found this out, after knowing him for about a decade and not knowing this, but Scott Buchanan actually used to play hockey.
Oh, really?
Used to play.
Okay.
I think he was a goalie, actually, if I remember correctly. But I think it was a pretty short-lived spurt he had as a kid. But
Well, there you go. If anything, we need some hockey jerseys. If you guys haven't done that already, I don't know.
actually, I've had one made up for me, custom by a guy that I met through Twitch.
Oh, cool.
He was helping people out, setting different streamers up with these jerseys. So yeah, he hooked me up. I don't have it on hand right now, but maybe I'll post a picture or send you a picture and you can throw it in the edit here.
Yeah, there we go. Right here.
Yeah.
If there's no photo, that means Grant forgot to send it, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right, we'll switch back to guitar now, everybody. I promise this is a guitar podcast, but let's get into Grant. Let's get into you, man. Let's go to your younger years, how you started with guitar. So this is actually great, right? Because you mentioned when you were younger, there was the conflict of hockey, guitar. So I would be curious, what ultimately made you make the decision that you were going to pursue guitar over hockey? And, just what was it like for little Grant with coming up with guitar? Maybe from there, some of the early bands that sort of led you to Unleash the Archers.
Yeah, of course. That's a good question on what really made me choose one or the other. And I'm going to have to really kind of go through the magic school bus here and go back through time to put myself in the mind frame, because I haven't really thought of that maybe ever, to be honest. But yeah, let's bring it back. Like I never played an instrument as a kid. Like my life was really consumed by hockey, to be honest. My parents never put me in anything else until I got to grade 7 and I joined like the school band. Right, that was like my first time joining music. And at the same time, I was kind of like getting into like pop punk and punk bands and things like that, got more alternative, like, because at the time, much more music was like on cable TV, and they had a show called The Punk Show, and then they had a show called Much More Loud. It was like 1 hour a week, and they're like Saturday nights, back to back at like 10 p.m. or something like that. I can't remember when it was on, but I know they were back to back, and that kind of started to expose me to some more, I don't know, heavier music in general.
Okay.
And so I started playing the trombone and in concert band, and was just kind of like, I was kind of just one of those kids who was just always hanging out in the band room. Right. I really wanted to play drums. Like that was like on first day of band class, everybody kind of writes down their top 3 instruments they want. Of course, like 20 people all pick drums. Like everyone sits behind the drum set. Nobody wants to get stuck playing flute or the piccolo or whatever it is, But I got stuck on the trombone because I would imagine people with like prior music experience get thrown on the drums, right? I had nothing. I was like going in blind. So here I was, just a grade 7 guy, learning the trombone, hanging out in the music room, trying to like sneak on the drums. And there was like an electric bass there that I started to learn. And the first instrument I actually got after the trombone was a bass, right? Because that was the first stringed instrument that I could like play in the band room. So I can't remember. I ended up buying a bass for like $50 or something, $100 off of whatever. I have no idea. Can't remember where I got it from. But yeah, I realized that the bass was like, I don't know, it wasn't me. I wanted more, I was like, I want to start playing solos and like playing, because I'm a very competitive person. So like, at least with myself, like I was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm like, I want to like go all the way. I was like, there's no point going like half-assing anything. I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all the way. So like, if I'm learning a string instrument, I'm not going bass. Give me 6 strings, right? I don't think 7 string, 8 string was very popular back then. This is like 20, 25 years ago. But like sixth string. So I started learning, Blink 182, Sum 41, Papa Roach, things like that. New metal was pretty big. And yeah, I mean, I've told this story many times before, but I came home from school one day in grade 7 and saw Iron Maiden's Rock in Rio being played on Much More Music. And I was like, what is this? Like, everything in my being was like, this is what I'm made for. Like, this is what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to play.
I don't want to. I'm going to cut in because I don't want to forget this, but I just have to say how much I relate with you with Rock in Rio. I grew up in a country town where the closest thing was a Walmart, and I didn't drive. I walked 3 hours to that thing to buy Rock in Rio. And anyways, point is it's a life-changing DVD. Anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch it. Even with all the stuff they've put out, there's that magic of Rock in Rio. I mean, Bruce was just back, right? I think Adrian just came back too. So I didn't mean to cut off Grant, everybody, but it's like I was gonna forget, and just the magic that is Rock in Rio, everyone. Yes.
Dude, still to this day, it stands the test of time. It's such a great performance, and it's such a important, I think, kind of like, I don't know what you want to call it, a milestone, a fork in the road, whatever you want to call it, for that time period, like early 2000s, when like new metal and all this was like getting pretty rampant, and Maiden was like, no, classic metal is back. Not that it was like gone, but like Maiden had kind of like, veered away from their former glory, so to speak. And it was like, okay, it was a way to, for kids who like I didn't have like an older brother to like introduce metal to me. Like my dad was like not a metalhead. So like, it was like that way to bridge that, like that gap with the new generation. Be like, hey, there's also this whole other world available that you don't even know about yet, right? So it was like what's that movie, The Labyrinth? Like, it was like opening the door to like, whoa! It was like coming out of the cave for the first time. It was like, whoa, what is all this metal, right? And that just opened up to everything, right? Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, went through a melodic death thrash phase, right? Still loved punk rock, and I still love that as well, right? So, yeah, and then I guess segueing into like first bands. First band was actually like just like a middle school band with a few of my friends, right? Actual guys I've played hockey with my whole life who were also starting to get into instruments. So we like started a band. I think the first iteration was called whatever, the Fiasco, or we were called Seven Shot, we were called Foreskin.
Those all sound very punk rock.
Yeah, it was kind of like a pop punk type of thing, right? And then I got put into a thing called Weekend Warriors, which was like kind of like a school of rock thing where you get thrown into like a band with 5 other random kids, and you learn a bunch of songs, you try to write a song, and then you play a show at the end of 3 months. And that's where I met Andrew, who is the other guitarist in Unleash the Archers. That's where I met his brother. I was actually in a band with his brother, and that's where we kind of all met. And then that was like the start. After that program was the start of like the first metal band that I started with Andrew and his brother. We were called Vial of Blood initially.
Hell yeah.
And then it segued into Knights of the Apocalypse, and then into Golgotha, and then into Archon Legion. And we ended up moving to Victoria in our mid-teens to pursue our music career. Andrew and I, we moved to Victoria. We kind of dropped out of high school. We went down there to play with some other musicians. We had a drummer down there we really wanted to play with. And that was the kind of start of, I guess, going from like a teenager just learning guitar to like actually going out in the world and starting to play some shows. And there's myself, Andrew, and we had another guitarist, named Matthew, but we just called him Whitey because his last name was Whitehead. It wasn't a racial thing. So we had like a 3 guitar onslaught where we were kind of all like shredders, and we were kind of like known as that like young band with like 13-year-olds who were like all 3 guitars were like playing solos and stuff, right? So yeah, and then it just kind of like continued on from there. We moved to Victoria, we met Unleash the Archers, we started our first tours, and then eventually that band broke up and I joined Unleash the Archers, and yeah, the rest is history. That's kind of like a snapshot.
Now, did you join before Andrew or same time?
I joined Unleash the Archers before Andrew, yeah.
Okay.
So I actually got kicked out of our original metal band, Archon Legion. And then I was kind of like a free agent, and I went up north. I ended up like working in the oil field for a little bit. I was like, hey, this is the first time I'm like not in a band, so I'm gonna go make some money.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went up there. I was working, and then at the same time I was up there working, Unleash the Archers were looking for a new guitarist. Okay. They had already moved to Vancouver, and so I reached out to them. I joined in 2011. And then Andrew joined in 2015, I think.
Okay. Yeah, every time I mention the story of sort of how I met you all, I actually discovered you guys because Stu Block shared the video Dawn of Ages. I might have told you this before because that's how I learned you were the Sasquatch in that. So that was my first introduction. So I don't think either of you were in the band at the time, right? But you knew them because you were in the video, obviously.
That's what joined.
What's that?
I just joined the band then, but I joined as they were like just finishing. They had already recorded Demons of the Astro Race, their second album.
Gotcha.
So I came in and actually I threw on like 2 or 3 solos on that album because it was like they were like, I joined. They're like, hey, we're like just about done this album. We got a few spots for solos if you want to like write something quick and throw it on there. So, but it didn't make sense for me to be in the video for Dawn of Ages because like I'd been there for 2 weeks,
right,
and didn't write or record the albums. Like, oh, I would be the Sasquatch. It's like, oh, perfect. That'll be like a cool Easter egg.
Yeah, okay, I love that. Yeah, and then so that's when I discovered Archers. But then by the time I had met you all, you and Andrew were both in the group. So I've always known it as the two of you as far as like who I've met. But it is weird sometimes going back watching those old videos without you two. Like, something feels off here. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a definite kind of style change too when we came in.
It's very obvious. Yeah.
And started writing at least. Like, because I came in Demons. Didn't write anything, like I said, just threw on a couple of solos. We did an EP like a year after that where I didn't write anything for that either. Braden still was the main songwriter for those first 2 albums, and then Defy the Skies as well. And then it was Time Stand Still that I began writing for, and that's when Braden left. Like, I was like writing songs. I'd like Tonight We Ride was the first one, and then Dream Crusher, and then I started writing Going Down Fighting, and you could just tell that like Braden wasn't into it anymore, right? He was like, he went from being like the main songwriter, always bringing songs, to like not really bringing anything anymore, and it was like me doing it all. And he brought like, he'd bring a song, and it was like we'd jam it. It was like, okay. And then it was just like one rehearsal. We all showed up, and Braden just kind of gave us the news that he was going to leave. He actually showed up, his haircut, in a suit, and we're like, "Whoa, something's happening today. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it." We're all like plugging things in. He's just like sitting there, like, and he broke the news, and that's when I was like, I got the perfect guy for the job. Yep. Andy, we're back, baby.
Yep. And here comes Andrew. I love it. Cool. And you know what, man? And that's fair. Sometimes people's paths just go a different way, and that's all right, you know.
Well, you know as much as I do, this is not an easy business or endeavor to pursue. Trying to be in a band and make it actually feasible and be able to tour and not break up and actually, you know, at least break even. And then if you're lucky, make some money on top of it, and it's a hard road, right?
Yep.
And
I've definitely gone through my share, of
and fans, and I get a picture of it just from seeing how many members leave all the time from different bands, right?
Yep.
It's not an easy path for anyone to do for even 1 year, let alone decades.
Exactly. And the ones who stick, the ones who stay, it's because that passion and love is there. But the thing is that doesn't mean it's fun the whole time. But we do it because we love it, and that's what some people don't understand. They're like, just go back to doing it because you love it. It's like, that's literally the only reason I'm still here. But there's a difference of me playing at the local bar for fun and trying to make this my lifestyle, It comes with many different things. So yes, it's hard, but there's still that side of you that it's like, but I wouldn't want to do anything else. So you endure, and sometimes you go through breaks. Sometimes you need the time. I mean, I was pumping out tunes, and I haven't written a song since the Of Romulus stuff. Like, kind of. Like, I did a couple last year, like a new Planeswalker song, but like a full song on my own, it's been a minute. And, but sometimes that happens, and you just gotta go with it. And that's okay. And that's a good lesson too for those listening and trying to learn something from these podcasts is like, it's a hard road. You're going to have tough days, but if you really love it and you really want to do it, just keep going. I mean, unfortunately, it's the same thing when you talk to a student about getting better at guitar. There's no shortcut. You just got to keep going, and it's not always easy, but you got to practice. You got to put in the time, put in the work.
I think part of it is just like appreciating and recognizing and honoring different seasons in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, in the winter time and you're going outside with flip flops and a rubber dinghy, and then you're pissed off because you're cold. Oh, you got the wrong strategy in the wrong season. It's like some people are sitting there complaining that it's cold out, that there's snow. Some people are going up in the mountain and snowboarding. Right. So it's like, you got to recognize what season you're in, and that's fine. Like especially with us too, like we're taking some time off. It's a season in the band's long career, right? It's not going to be forever that we're not touring. There's going to be times where we're going to be touring so hard that we wish we were back home, right? And it's just about, appreciating and just embracing each season of life. There's times to grow, there's times to coast, there's times to relax, there's times to work hard. And it's like, you got to really, really settle into each season. It's like on vacation, enjoy it.
Yep. A thing I'm sorry, what was that?
Go ahead. I was done my rant.
Oh, no worries. A thing I always like to look at is when you look at a lot of these bands. So great example, we've been talking about Iron Maiden, but you can look at Maiden. You can look at Blind Guardian, for the power metal lovers. But you look at their early career, it's an album a year. And then that turns into an album every 2 years. And now it's an album every 6 to 10 years. And they're not hitting it as hard as when they were younger. And so getting older is a part of it too. Like you learn, as you said, to appreciate the seasons. I'm sure those boys, they get older, you get families like you got kids, right? So Brittany and Scott now have a kid. So things change. We can't hit it as hard. Even for me, I don't have kids, but I'm not in the same mindset I was even 5 years ago, where I was like, I will go broke for this. I'm now at a point where it's like, I'll moderately struggle for this. But I'm not willing to go broke anymore. So things change,
Yeah, each band has different seasons too. When you're just starting out, you want to take like every gig as possible. You want to play, network and get out there. When you're established, you don't want to be playing every weekend, every month, because then you end up overplaying and people get tired of you, right? So it's like, you got to recognize what season you're in as a business, as a band, as a person, and like we were talking about this before we started recording, but like comparing yourself to others. It's like, are you comparing your like, your second season to somebody's like 12th season?
Right.
Like look back to their second season and see what they did then. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like now I'm, comparison is a thief of joy. So
yeah, and it's something I struggle with, and I am always openly admitting to this, right? And sometimes when I try to get feedback and I talk to other people, like we were talking about streaming, and I've asked a lot of my friends who do really well streaming, and most of them give the same answer. They're like, dude, I've just been doing it forever. Again, it goes back to the just keep grind. I don't like the word grinding, but just keep working at it, because there's no trick.
Keep improving.
Yeah.
So you do that one, grinding.
I think where it gets hard for people, and myself included, is because you hear that, but then you'll see this one person out of 100 who it's like, well, they didn't have to. It's like, well, sometimes it just happens, and there's no formula. They met the right person. They did the right thing. They had the right personality. It's like, and that's where the problem of you can't compare yourself to others, because it's like, well, just because they did it doesn't mean you won't, or just because you're
and
not.
Again, just to play devil's advocate here, you see that person who's like, maybe they exploded off their first like endeavor type of thing. May look that way. What did they do before that?
Right.
What is the past 20 years of their life experience? What has built them to be able to now, like for example, see if you and I go out and start a brand new band, we're not gonna be at the same point as if I was starting a brand new band 20 years ago.
Right.
Because I've so many more connections, so many more things I know about what to do, that from day one, already in a pretty good position.
Yep.
Right. But it's only because of that 20, 30 years of experience and putting in the work. To someone on the outside, it's like, well, somebody who never knew either of us, and then see us start a new band, everything looks polished. Like, what the hell? Why are these guys like already got a deal? They haven't even put a song out now. Like, oh, it's because it's like that iceberg metaphor, right?
And that's
everybody only sees the tip. There's so much more that goes into it.
Yep. You talked about when growing up, right? How you kind of got into music, starting with band and things like that, and Iron Maiden leading you to the heavier bands and stuff like that. But is there anyone or bands that in particularly influenced your style? Because one thing I've always liked about you is you can shred, my man, but also your rhythm is very tight, very good. And as a rhythm player, like I noticed that, because there are a lot of people who play great leads and stuff, and there's this tight in the pocket rhythm that not everyone has. And I just want to say before I move on to Grant talking, I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm just saying it's the facts of different styles. Some people don't put as much focus on that tight Hetfield style playing, and that doesn't mean they're not phenomenal players. But you and I have played together. You did the show with my group Dire Apparel, which is pretty demanding stuff rhythm wise. And I've always admired your rhythm playing, because again, like as a rhythm player, I noticed that kind of stuff. So what guitarists really kind of inspired you at a younger age to sort of have that style instead of going more of like a Malmsteen kind of playing?
Yeah, so I think it might be partially my like desire early on to be a drummer, so like this kind of, I don't know, focus towards like the rhythmic parts of music. I was, even though I did kind of get into power metal pretty early on in my metal journey and kind of did gravitate towards that, there was a part of power metal that I like didn't really like, which was like the very kind of like orchestral, as it was termed, flower metal, that European kind of more operatic, more orchestral sound, right? So when I was getting really into power metal, I was getting into heavier power metal bands like Hybria and Iced Earth and Jagdpanzer and even Stradivarius, even though they were kind of like in that Euro style, like the rhythm guitar of Timo Tolkki was still really like punishing. Like one thing I've loved from a very early age and still do is when a guitar, and I'm sure this is music to your ears, palm muting a guitar with a good sounding amp, that feeling you get in your chest, where it's like boom, like that to me is like the epitome of metal guitar. So I'm not sure. I don't think it was like a specific guitarist that like was like, oh, I want to like really hone in my rhythm guitar skills. It was more of like this philosophy of liking this part of music. Obviously, I was gravitated and attracted towards like the lead work as well. Like when I first discovered Lexi Laiho and like Children of Bone, started to really like that kind of neoclassical shred. But then, like for example, then like Winter Sun kind of comes out. I really also loved heavier stuff like Winter Sun, like Death, like Carcass, so and a lot of thrash bands. Slayer, I wasn't the biggest into Slayer, but I really liked obviously Metallica. James Hetfield is probably the GOAT rhythm guitar player, but yeah, some like the German thrash bands like Destruction and Sodom, things like that. I really kind of gravitated towards that. So I think that mixed with like my punk rock roots, it was like I was like, yeah, I love guitar solos, but I don't know what it was. There was something about honing in that other part of the guitar, and maybe he was also like playing with Andrew since like I was really young. He was like, I always found he was always better than me on the leads, right? So I was like, okay, I've got to really like lock in the rhythm. Like if there's one thing like I can't slouch on is like it's my rhythm playing, because if he's gonna like crush all these crazy leads, he needs like a really solid guy behind him, right?
Right.
And not to say like I've never considered myself like a virtuosic lead player because of that, right? I can dip into that territory, and when I write solos, they're more less show-offy and more like trying to create a good melody that like sings to you type of thing.
Just real quick, you know what I love about that though? Because you see this dynamic a lot in bands. A band that comes straight to mind is Trivium, right? I would say in comparison, it's sort of the same dynamic where Corey would be Andrew, you would be Matt. And Matt really locks in that rhythm. And when he solos, they're great, but they're very, like you said, it's the same idea, very locked in on the melody. They're even kind of rhythmy in a way. And then Corey's the guy who's like, yeah, well, look what I could do, on the solos, but they complement each other really well. And having both is great. Even Iron Maiden, Adrian is very much, like when it comes to rhythm and Maiden, I go team Adrian. Like Dave always has the smooth, just nice solos. Adrian's solos are fantastic as well, but man, some of them are almost riffy in their own way, right?
Yeah.
And so having that dynamic really works with a band,
I think that is so important with having two guitarists in a band, is having that like complementary styles. Like, you don't want two of the same guitarists in the band. It's just like, no. I think it's boring. I like for example, like very not a metal band necessarily, but like Guns N' Roses. Like things what I really liked about them is like they had two very distinct guitar parts, even on the rhythm side of things. Mm-hmm. They're rarely playing the same thing, but they're very complementary.
Right. It's really cool when that works out too. I think a great example to show the strengths of exactly what you're talking about for Unleash the Archers is the song Abyss. I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but because you guys have the trade-off solos there, and you absolutely hear what you're talking about here,
sure.
Just listen to it, like, oh, but it could also help that I've known you guys for over a decade, but I can hear him be like, oh, that's Grant. oh, that's Andrew, right? Like you can, but it's really cool when you can reach a point like that with your group where people could just hear it and be like, oh, that's Grant for sure. I don't even need to look,
And I think that's something that all musicians should strive for. Anyone out there listening to this is like, and it's probably one of the hardest things to do, to be honest, is defining a sound for your, and so somebody hears you, is like, oh, that's that person. Right. So
yeah,
I think that is going to be the new, maybe not new, but the most sought after kind of commodity moving forward in music, because you look around, there's no shortage of technicality and talent out there, but there's a shortage of flavor and style and uniqueness. Not across the board. There's definitely people doing it far better than I ever have or ever will. But yeah, I think creating a unique style. It's easy for singers because everyone's voice is unique, right? You kind of hear a singer pretty, for the most part, you can tell who it is. Guitarists, a little harder to create a sound, right? Some guitarists like to pick certain modes that they use all the time, certain licks that kind of like revisit in multiple songs. Like, oh yeah, that's that kind of guy. Drummers, pretty hard to have a defined sound, but it is possible.
Yeah. An interesting thing you said though, when I asked you like sort of what got you into rhythm and stuff, and you mentioned that you wanting to be a drummer and maybe that's something to do with it. I think that's cool because when I did the last podcast with Donnie, he mentioned drummers and that was a big thing for him. And I find that interesting because that wasn't it for me. And like, I didn't think that when I was getting into it. Unfortunately, my story is not super exciting. I was just shown Metallica and Iced Earth, and that's just how I played. That's literally that's how I became a rhythm player, is because that's where I started, and that's what I knew. And as I progressed, that's just the style I kept playing. And then it was like, oh, I guess that's what I do. So there was no decision making. Yeah.
Story check out. You add those ingredients, Iced Earth and Metallica.
Yeah.
What out of it?
Exactly. So I didn't make the decision. Yeah. I didn't make the decision to be a rhythm player. I just am. I just was. But point is I find that interesting that two people so far mention like drums and it makes sense because I very much think that way now. Like locking in with the drummer and the rhythms and what's the drummer doing. So I guess I just went the reverse way, but we got to the same conclusion there.
Yeah, and actually thinking back now, we don't rehearse and jam like we used to. We're in a different season. Right. But like earlier on, we were jamming like, 3 to 4 times a week, all the time, just jamming for the sake of jamming, working out parts. And I was always, not always, but majority of the time, the guy going in for extra sessions with the drummer. Just me and the drummer working things out. Just repeating riffs with them, working, So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the one of the most important parts of core of a sound is like the rhythm, right? If everything's out of sync rhythm, it doesn't matter what kind of melodies you have over top of it.
Yep.
So, yeah,
and this is unrelated, but if anyone's listening, just aspiring to be in a band, get a good fucking drummer. If you got some of the tightest guitar players and your drummer's all over the place, it don't matter. But if you got like an okay guitarist and a tight fucking drummer, you're going to be able to get away with it a little better. So shout out to drummers out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as a rhythm guitarist, you can kind of hide behind extra sounds there and majority of people aren't going to notice.
Yep.
Drummer misses the beat or like not playing very tight. It's everyone's looking around.
Yeah. You know what? This is the perfect segue to stuff I wanted to ask you. How you approach the studio versus live, because they are two different beasts, right? And so when you go and track for yourself or for archers, what would you say are some like checklist when recording? You know, obviously rhythm, because it's a rhythm podcast, but just in general, just things you want to have done before you're in the studio, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely always try to record everything at least once before we actually record it for real, right? So you've kind of done a dry run, call it pre-production, demo everything before we actually go in to record it for the final time. That just, you know, I think the benefits of that go without saying, but you're not wasting time in the studio, you know, then figuring out, oh, these parts don't work or they don't line up, or you want to figure this all out well in advance of being in there and recording it. This is, you know, assuming that you're just going to the studio and just throwing everything down. You're not going in there to figure things out and write. Because there's sometimes you go in the studio and you're like intentionally trying to figure things out. That's fine, right? But as a general rule, we try to record everything pre-production before we actually do it. At least guitar-wise, we don't always do that for, like, I know Brittany doesn't do that for all her vocals, but she will, like, kind of mime the melodies and things like that. I know she's still figuring things out, even sometimes until, like, 30 seconds before she's about to record it, or the night before she's writing lyrics, right? But the main part of the music, as far as the drums and the guitars and everything go, record everything as many times before you actually have to lay it down for real. It's just going to make, it's just like when you do something for the second time, it's just so much easier because you've already been down this road. Right. So that's one, pre-production as much as you can before you go into the studio. What's the other big differences between live and the studio? I mean, there's a lot of differences, to be honest. Like, the beauty of the studio is that you don't have to play everything in one 5-minute long take, right? So you can really kind of hone in on certain parts and just record things in chunks. The beauty of, you know, being in a band that's not a progressive band that has a million different parts, when you have one verse or a chorus that is the same throughout the same song, you record it once, so you can just like copy and paste it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a beneficial benefit of technology, right? And it's like, sure, can you record it again and play it fine? Yeah, you can, but are you going to waste, you know, the next 2 hours recording all those parts again when you already have them, right? So work smarter, not harder. There's no like ego or pride that comes into recording. Like, we just have the mindset, we just want it to sound the best, right? So I know, Metallica, like James Hetfield, he records all the rhythm parts, right? For both guitar parts, right? And they double up rhythm parts. And actually, this is a really good point to bring up that we also do, is we double up all of our rhythm parts. We record them at least twice on each side, completely different takes. So it's just thick on either side. Another point there that I was going to mention, but it kind of slipped my mind. I don't know if there's any questions you have about what I mentioned there, but...
Well, I guess more specifically, I'll try to say, as a guitarist, or let's ask this, what makes you the most nervous, live or studio? My answer is studio.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I don't want to sound egotistical or anything like that, but I don't really get nervous a lot.
That's great. Honest. Yeah.
I feel it's one of my superpowers in a way, but I do feel that the studio has a lot more pressure.
Yeah. Like being under that microscope, you know.
Stakes are higher.
Yep.
For sure.
Because
live, and it's you're still in the same spot. You can't move on until you've kind of corrected it.
Yep. But this goes back to what Grant was saying with the pre-production, recording first, knowing the material before you're recording the final takes is going to help get, not have that be an issue. Sorry guys, that was a bad sentence.
The more prepared you are
yeah,
for anything, the less nervous you're going to be.
Yep. And I've had situations where I've had to record stuff for people like this band Judicator. I did not their last album, Concord, but I did rhythm guitars for the album before that. And they're like, okay, so we need it in a month. And like it was all written by the singer. So there was a lot of parts where it's like, you realize my fingers don't do that, bro. So that was a rare situation where I'm learning the songs while recording them. And like looking back, it's kind of like, when I listen to it, you can hear it in yourself where it's like, that would have been played so much better if I had time to like sit with the song. So
yeah, and that's the thing too, man. Like when you come in after you've already pre-production, it's like everything is already so familiar to you.
Yep. But yeah, for me it'd be studio because live. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's no surprises. It's like you've been down every path here. Everything's familiar, and a lot of it also comes down to the environment you have for recording. Like, who are you recording with? Is it a room full of, 10 people also watching you track while you're working with like a top name producer that you haven't worked with before? And this is like take one, right? Opposed to like, okay, is this somebody you've known for 10 years, you've worked with, you've done a bunch of albums with? There's nobody else in the room except for just like you and him.
Yeah, all that matters.
Depends on the environment.
Yep.
And then your preparation beforehand. This maybe goes out to maybe younger audience out there, younger guitarists. Maybe you haven't recorded yet. And this is something that may seem obvious, but can easily be a detail that you kind of like don't think about. And it's like, writing, say you're palm muting a chord and you're accenting like, certain notes in that chord and then riding on like the root note, right? Just for the rhythm. Very important just to stick on that one root note for the rhythm, right? Not if making that super laser tight. Earlier in my career, this was something that was exposed in my playing is like when I'm like riding on a chord, ring it out, and then like my palm muting wasn't always just on that one single string, riding it out, right? And you kind of those details can be overlooked in a jam space in a live environment, but under a microscope, that's when it gets really revealed. So it's like, okay, whether you're doing alternate picking 16th notes or if you're just down picking on a note, are you wanting to hit, the full power chord in that down pick, or are you just wanting to hit that single root note, right? Those are choices that you have to be very deliberate on because it's going to change how everything sounds. It also changes when you start to sync up other rhythm parts, right? If you have two rhythm parts, they're supposed to be playing the exact same thing. Right, those small little details, whether you let up a little bit on the palm mute or you're hitting two strings instead of the one string in the palm mute, those little details really matter.
And that's a very good point that Grant brought up, because I used to not think about those things either, and you can hear it in my earlier work, but now, and like you said, like with quad tracking, so that's two guitars per side, all recorded at different times, but the trick is to make them sound like one guitar. So you have to know what you're playing. And now I personally, if I'm doing a chunky dun, 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 I'll do the full power chord because it just adds some beef. But if it's a faster 16th note or even a faster like 200 BPM down pick, I'll probably do just the root note because I know I'm going to consistently hit that over the whole power chord. But that's something, like you said, you gotta, but also, man, something just feels good about doing a mid-tempo power chord chug. But if you're going to commit, and that's the important thing about that. Like,
do intention, do it like I'm intending to hit this whole power chord, or I'm not, or I'm hitting it on the end of beat 2, right? On both all takes, everyone's hitting that little, small little detail, right?
Yep. And it's one of those important things I always like to say. And this is where it sounds like another, like it's probably obvious, but it's not always obvious. When you're playing these tight rhythms, every note matters and is just as important. And when we say something like that, this is what we're talking about. Where are you accenting? Where are you putting that extra oomph? Is it all of it? Is it this one part? Because if you do it here, the other guitarist does it there, the bass player does it there, well, now it just sounds like slop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, that's where pre-production really comes into play, where you can kind of like isolate and hear every track. Be like, hey, two of us are like doing it together, and one of us are like on your own little path there.
Yep. And it might not seem like something that matters that much, and even when you're listening to it, it might sound good. But that's what changes it from this sounds good to this sounds professional. You know?
Yeah.
Because when you listen to a produced album from all these bands you love that are put out, it sounds great because you're not thinking about the production because it's done so well. You don't have to think about it, you know.
Yeah.
But as soon as the crack starts to fall, then you'll notice.
Yeah, it's like the saying with bass, you don't notice it until it's gone.
Man, when I learned and that's, you know, another great point. People don't realize how much bass affects guitar tone and the heaviness of the guitar. You know, it's so funny when I post videos that's just when I'm just playing my guitar and like a little hi-hat in the background, and everyone's like, man, that guitar tone's a little thin. It's like, trust me, it sounds good in a mix with strong bass, like, you know. Because I used to think the same. I'd always be like, man, why doesn't my guitar tone sound like this Iced Earth album? You know, it's like, well, because it's not produced like the Iced Earth album. You know, Schaefer does 5 guitar tracks per side. That's insane.
Jesus.
Like, and he does very little. And that's the thing too, guys, to think about. If you want this heavy tone, it might sound crazy, but actually turn your gain down a little bit. So Schaefer turns the gain down super low and then tracks 5 per side. And then that's how you get this big wall. But I'm just like, dude, playing that tight rhythm 10 times, even I'm a little afraid to do that. So
That's insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you even call that? What's quad tracking? What's 10?
What is 10? Yeah. I don't even know, but crazy is what it is. Unnecessary? I don't know. But then that's, you know, you talk about it's hard to find that sound, right? Like there's like there is a tightness to the Iced Earth albums that I don't hear in other stuff that play that similar style. And so again, that goes to, you know, like there's a method to the madness, because I'll hear bands who play similarly, even myself. Like you listen to the Dire Power album, dude, that's just Iced Earth worship all over the thing. But that still doesn't sound as tight as an Iced Earth album. And it's, you know, part of it is I didn't do 5 tracks per side. Hell no. In fact, that album is only 1 per side because I did that before I knew anything what the hell I was doing. So
No wonder it sounds so weak.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, but really good point, actually. And, you know, it's a funny thing because it's like, oh, yeah, this tone sounds awesome just by yourself. Right? You can have like this amp, you know, there's like line 6 amps that sound great by themselves. And then you add them into a mix and, you know, the mids are scooped when they're sounding great. You get them in a mix and it's non-existent anymore. Right. So
Right.
The tone that you need for guitar or like a live band setting is completely different than like what you would want just jamming alone.
Right.
Right. So that's a very good point that maybe some guitarists are overlooking. And a lot of it comes down to, cranking up the mids a little bit, cranking up the treble so you can hear that like that attack and the definition. You don't need like that big belly behind it always for it. And like you're mentioning with Schaefer's gain is cranked down. It's just like it's like a machine gun.
And that's the thing, because the gain too high. Yeah. You put that gain too high and now the performance is getting lost in the gain. So that's the give and take, is you can fake it a little bit better, but if you really want that tight rhythm, man, you turn it down. And then again, it comes to the playing, man. You got to put in that work, because now you can't hide the mistakes, but man, do you sound good when you're locked in with that low gain, and it's going to sound better, and it's going to have that tight fucking sound you're looking for. And a lot of credit, we mentioned thrash bands, a lot of credit, thrashers, they figured this out. I mean, listen to a lot of old thrash bands, man, and that's where rhythm really was locking in, Testament, Exodus, Anthrax. I always thought Anthrax had really great tone and really good rhythms. Yeah. That's not talked about a lot.
Scotty, yep. He at least needs to be mentioned at least once in this conversation.
Yep.
Because, he is a monster rhythm guitar player.
Yep.
And trying to play some stuff, it's deceiving. Like, oh, this doesn't sound too hard. And you're like, whoa. What BPM is this guy clocking down picks at?
Yeah. Like Caught in a Mosh. I learned that song for a video I did with a buddy, and I was like, oh, wow, this is quite, it's just da-da-da-da-da. And, or there was this one song I forget that a buddy of mine told me to learn that he uses for like right arm warm-ups and stuff. And when I listened to it, I was like, this doesn't sound hard, but it's long. It's like 6 minutes, so it's a stamina test, Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, it doesn't seem bad at first, but it's like, are you playing just as consistent from the first second to the final 6 minutes? And that's where it comes in. All right, so a couple things before we wrap up here, man, since we're kind of coming to the end. Are there just any, I know we talked about a lot and we did mention some things as it came through, but are there just any sort of things you would say, like, if the rhythm guitar, this kind of style, is someone really wants to lock in with, other than the obvious of practice, patience, and all that, what are just some fundamentals that really helped you, or that you would say are like a must for this kind of style?
Yeah, I mean, this was actually something, type of exercise that I was introduced to fairly recently, in like the past 2 or 3 years, I would say, from a friend called Bill Hudson, great guitarist. But he had this practice exercise, which seems pretty insignificant. Maybe I've shared it with you in the past. But literally just, I mean, there's a progression to it, right? But level 1 is literally just down picking on a single string to a metronome for 5 minutes. Why 5 minutes? Most songs are about 5 minutes, right? So it's like this simple exercise, right? Completely removing your left hand. Your left hand, have it do something else. Just have it hang there, right? You can do this either to a metronome, or what I like to do this just to like a metal drum beat, just a drum loop. You can find a bunch of them online. And just doing down picking on all strings. Just going what I call going around the world. Take it around the world, trying to find wrinkles, trying to find any sort of little indiscrepancies, string changes, inconsistencies, right? Trying to make it very kind of robotic in a way. And when you do find inconsistencies, just sitting there and iron out the kinks, right? So you can take this through a bunch of different levels, starting with just down pickings, and then I do 4 down and 4 up strokes consecutively. So I down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 through all strings. And then you can go to just up strokes. Gonna feel very weird for some people, right? But this is just to feel the different tensions that you feel in your hand, right? You're gonna feel it. You got to lead with your index finger, right, instead of your thumb for this, right? And if you want a really big challenge, do Master of Puppets all upstrokes.
All upstrokes, yeah. I don't even think I can do that.
And then with each of these progressions, you can add accents in there as well, right? Which is just opening up that palm mute, right? And making sure that the hardest part about adding an accent is making sure that that second note after that open note is closed. Not hitting a double hit, which a lot of people kind of do, right?
Right.
So really taking the time to like hone in on this part of your playing, right? Just working on opening and closing that palm mute, right? If this becomes too easy, which it never can, because you can always increase the tempo, right? If you can do something, for 5 minutes at a tempo, great. Increase the tempo. You might only be able to do that next tempo for a minute before your arm starts to fall. It's either going to be a max speed or an endurance limitation, right? So once you find you could do something at a certain tempo, how long can you do it for, right? If you know how to do it for a minute, keep practicing to do it for 5 minutes, raise the tempo, right? Keep repeating that until you can endure it for 5 minutes, right? But this is like such a valuable exercise that I do for myself. I do with all my students, something that I preach to anyone, because you can always continue to increase the difficulty and get benefit out of it. I don't think there's a guitarist out there that couldn't get benefit from an exercise like this, right? Because you can add string skipping elements to it. You can add alternate picking, 16th note elements to it. You can change how many notes per string you're doing, right? As soon as you get to alternate picking, when you start to do 3 notes per string, right? Odd amount of hits per string, you're having to change on a different stroke, right? Just really taking the time to perfect just your picking hand. Don't even worry about your left hand, because once you got your picking hand locked in, you can kind of like set it and forget it, right? Because everything else that you do on guitar, you have to do with your picking hand, right? It's way more options and variety with your fretting hand, right? So just take time just to lock in this part of your game, right? 5 minutes a day on this pays dividends.
A couple things I want to touch on for the people listening, and then a few of my own thoughts. Something Grant just said right there, right? Like locking in with your pick hand, because then everything you do with the pick hand, if anyone listened to the last episode with Donnie, that's almost something he said. And I just want to stress that importance, right? Even with leads, is people want to neglect that right hand because they want to be shredding. Or sorry, the right hand, because they want to be shredding. But if you can't lock in the rhythm, there's rhythm even in solos. There's rhythm, there's the timing, there's all that. And so the fact, now you've heard it from 2 different people, the importance of getting that right arm up to where it needs to be, right? And that locking in, if you will, and also I want to stress the importance of these exercises, because sometimes I'll post exercises on my Instagram and you get some comments if someone's like, well, I just do X song for my practice. Like, that's great. And also I think you should practice the songs, because it's a fun way than just down picking for 5 minutes. Cool. But the thing is like, when you're doing that, riffs are different. Songs are different. So it's great and it helps. But if you want to truly lock in to that, again, we're talking that just locked in pro level, sometimes you need to reel it back and you need to focus on these things. And while it might not be exciting as this Metallica song, it's still important, and again, go ahead.
One small note on that and how it relates to lead playing and the benefit of doing this around the world, where you take it, always start on the low string, then go up to the higher ones, is because typically when you're learning guitar, you're playing, the only time you play on those higher, lighter strings is when you're playing leads, when you're learning solos, right? And it's like the strings up there feel different when you're just picking on them, right? So it's like, if the only time you're now playing up there is to learn this technical line, and you haven't even spent any time doing any sort of rhythm on those strings, you're going to have a bad time.
Yep.
So what this does is, because that's the fact of the matter, like, you have to approach each string slightly different, right? The amount of weight and the way you can dig into like your low E string compared to your high E string is completely different, because there's so much more weight behind that thicker string. And also, like, your hand is in a different position on the bridge, right? There's different knobs in the way. So just taking like a moment to like slow things down, like, okay, are things working most efficiently down on my picking hand, right? Troubleshooting anything. And the other beauty part I like about this is like you're working on mechanics, but you're also working on your ear, right? You're not just going through the motions. You're listening for consistency in your attack.
That's a great word. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who can contest to this, because as someone who doesn't mess with leads too often, there are times where there might be this lick that if I play on the lower strings, easy as fuck. And then if I got to jump an octave to the higher strings, it's a little more difficult for me. And there's that thought of like, but it's the same thing. But
yeah,
it is, but it's not, right? Like the riff might be the same, the melody might be the same, but just what Grant was saying, I'm now playing it on thinner strings, a little different position, and so it does matter. And now I'm confident in like me being okay with that, because like I know what I like to play and I know my style, and it's fine. It's why I get better lead guitarist on my stuff. However, that's more of like a do what we say, not what I do kind of thing. Like if you really want to lock in and like what Grant's saying, be all around great at this stuff, then focus on it, right? You touched on another important point in there. It feels different going from the low strings to the high strings. It's also different on the fretting hand, going from lower parts in your fretboard to higher parts in your fretboard, right? The frets are thinner, right? The response from the strings themselves once they're fretted is different, right? There's like a quicker response the higher up you're in the fretboard. I feel just right. The strings are tighter because you're closer up. So on the, I guess just to touch a little bit more on the lead side, how this also relates to, I like practicing things chromatically, right? So you have like one pattern that you're learning. Really easy example that everybody knows, pentatonic, box 1, right? Playing that chromatically on fret 1, then on fret 2, then on fret 3. Just the same box, right? You can use this for any lick you're learning, any new lick you're learning. Just play it chromatically. Just move it up one fret, move it up one fret, move it up one fret. It's a great way to really get that one lick down in every context, right? Play it into all octaves, play it up high, play it, right? And then when you got to just play that lick stand alone on, so you've practiced it in so many different ways that the one way you got to play it now is like, this is easy. Yep, absolutely. Great. All right, Grant, we're going to get you out of here soon, but before we go, I'm going to ask you some quick random questions on our outro here. Just sort of little fun questions to end things out, and then we'll get out of here. But if you remember, what is the first song you ever learned?
Damn It by Blink-182.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Love it. Yeah, I love that. And what are you listening to right now? What are bands you're really feeling right now?
Oh, that's a good question. What have I been feeling? I mean, usually non-metal things, to be honest, as of recently. For me personally listening, that's a good question. There's not a lot of new stuff I've been listening to. There's a lot of things that I've been going over recently with like some of my guitar students and like, but yeah, me personally, there's nothing a lot of new. I've been kind of listening to some, Alex Warren.
All right, that's all right. Hey man, I've been rocking the Wicked soundtrack, dude. So you're in a safe place here. It's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've been passing a lot of Angra and like Lamb of God to some students recently, just on like the rhythm and the songwriting style of things. I think Angra has really great bridge sections. I've been kind of going over with some of my students. Cool. Out in the hockey lab there, just been rocking a lot of like Nestor. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're like an 80s kind of like AOR kind of style.
Okay.
And kind of been really into that kind of like more shred synthwave kind of stuff. Just kind of like background music.
Honestly, synthwave is really great for background music. I do that sometimes as well. I have this like a synthwave playlist I found on Spotify, and if I just need something on, just put that on, and it's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple more. What is, if you have one you're willing to share, your most embarrassing guitar moment?
Ooh, my most embarrassing guitar moment. I mean, this is actually pretty embarrassing, to be honest. At least now, it was devastating in the moment, and yeah, definitely embarrassing. So, Time Stands Still, our third album, we actually recorded all the guitars at my house, Andy and I, for like 2 weeks. We finished the whole album. We brought it to into the studio. Britt's now gonna lay down her vocals. He goes to record her first vocal line. It's like, producer's like, something sounds a little off. And he goes to try to tune the vocals, and he realizes the guitars are out of intonation.
Oh, no.
So the choice there was, okay, we can, Britt can record the whole album here. We won't be able to do any tuning with the vocals because I hate to blow this this veil behind the music here, but every vocal track you hear is auto-tuned. Everyone's like, oh, they're auto-tuned, they're cheating. No, you tune up pitches. It's just what you do, right? Just to kind of polish everything. And so he wasn't going to be able to tune any of the vocals for Time Stands Still with the guitars that we had. So we had to make the decision whether we re-record a whole album after just spending 2 weeks, day in and day out, Andy and I slaving like 12, 15 hours a day. We're like, finally put the stamp of approval, like, yes, we're done. And then to find out, no, actually, you're not. We got to redo it all.
There's a lot of guitar on that album.
So let that be a lesson to anyone out there to check your intonation on your guitar before you record anything. Because, yeah, that was the most painful experience ever. And I'm just, yeah, it's quite embarrassing that we did that at the stage we were as a band.
Ah, dude, I'm still fucking up today. It's all good. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, two more. And this one might be another tough one, but that's the point. What would you say is one of the most underrated skills for a guitarist?
I mean, joke answer is being able to power slide. But
is that a joke? I don't know, man. That's pretty important. We said this in the last episode. Looking cool is more important than anything.
To be honest, yeah, I'm gonna go in that direction, but I think connecting with the audience is underrated, whether it be through the notes themselves or through chemistry and energy on stage. Maybe that isn't underrated. Maybe that is highly rated. But I think it's one of those kind of like extra chips on your tool belt. If you can play great, that's kind of like entry point. Everybody can play great. But can you connect through what you're playing to like somebody listening to that where they're like, they get emotionally affected by it? Or can you make somebody feel seen in the audience who's been waiting who knows how long? So I think that's one. And then the other maybe underrated one that just came to me as I was saying that is just commitment and like the unrelentless, almost stubborn dedication to something, right? I think like if you look across the board on bands or musicians who've quote unquote made it, the common denominator is they just never gave up, right? So you kind of have to be stubborn in a sense to to just not give up.
I think those are all great answers. I especially love the connecting, right? And the showmanship, if you will, because maybe it's not underrated, but no one talks about it enough, and it is so important. Like people those are the shows I remember than the people just standing there. Like I might get some hate for this, but watching a band like Dream Theater, who I will never be as good at, like as far as musicianship goes, it's fucking boring. All right. But then you go watch Symphony X and Russell Allen's being a fucking buffoon on stage. And guess who I'm talking about? Russell Allen and his silly antics and him, as you said, connecting, making you feel seen, you know? So yeah, I 100% love that answer. Might be my favorite answer. So far, it's the first answer, so you don't have much to go against. But
Donnie.
yeah, I didn't ask Donnie that, but no, dude, that was a fantastic answer. I love it, and I might use it as examples because it is so true and it's so important. And you know, let's throw some gas your way, dude. You do that exceptionally well, and I've talked about that with friends as well. Like your stagemanship, is that a word? Sure, it's fantastic. You know, and so you live it, you believe it. You know, you're not just saying it, and it shows. And you know, another good example too is like to be able to do that and still play the stuff you're playing. That's important. You know, some people can't run across that stage while still playing these intense rhythms. And archers, you guys do got some crazy riffs. So to,
You know, and like, I'm not one to say here that I can do that and play things perfectly all the time, but you kind of need to, you don't get better at playing perfect while doing that without doing that and trying, right? It's like you kind of got to do it and be kind of bad at it at first. Maybe you're going to hit some wrong notes, but you kind of got it. It's like not looking at the guitar and playing. Sure, at first you might hit some wrong notes, but after a while, you'll get it.
Yep.
But on back to that original point you made, I just want to touch on one last thing here. It's just like kind of like a common truth here. People don't always remember everything you said, but they remember how you made them feel, right?
Yep.
So same thing with a band performing on stage. You're not going to remember all the notes, all the songs, but you remember how that band made you feel leaving, right? So it's like you have two different scenarios here. You have like one band who are technically great, but they never looked up from their fretboard, never made a connection, didn't even really move on stage. So that's band one. Band two, it kind of sucked, to be honest. Like their songs weren't very good. They're kind of like out of time all the time, but they had so much fun. And because of that, you had so much fun. You didn't even care that they sucked. Like you just had, it was like the funnest set you've ever done, right? Leaving those two shows, like which one are you going to really like remember, right? It's like, it's the one that really like you had fun at, right? You don't even care what the band was, right? But the other band, like that band was boring, right? So it's like, you're going to remember how you felt, not all the details.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing to go way back to the whole recording an album versus live mentality. You know, recording, be under that microscope. Live, have a good time. If you fuck up, it's cool, man. Like we get really good at fucking up and not letting the crowd know it. So, and if you can give them that show, it doesn't matter. Right. So,
yeah. And eventually the fuck ups will diminish. But your energy will continue to increase.
Yep.
Right? Like you're gonna realize, okay, maybe I gotta tone it back a little bit during this one part so I can like not mess up this part, right? You find your moments to really shine.
Yeah, exactly. And the last question. What does being a great rhythm guitarist mean to you?
Being a great rhythm guitarist means that I can connect with a broader audience in an emotional way. And that, that's the main thing, right? I think being a good rhythm guitarist is, it also means that like, I think it's the foundation to a good sounding band is rhythm. So just being part of like a unit and being tight in that unit is important to me, important meaning, but also, right, it's allowed me to be able to do what I've done for many decades here, which is, you know, play music for other people and connect with other people. So that's ultimately what it means to me is to be able to connect and enhance other people's moods and, you know, keep talking about it and inspiring others.
Hell yeah. I love it. Well, Grant, thank you so much for being here and doing this, man. It's been great to get a chat with you. Like I said, just catching up. It's been a while, life gets lifey sometimes, and so it's just been cool and getting to talk about all this stuff with you. But as we mentioned, Grant Unleashed the Archers, soon to be hockey star. Is there anything you'd like to plug, even if you're in your personal life right now, that anyone listening you might want them to know, or just a reminder of who you are, where they can find you? You mentioned you have students. Do you do private lessons? Is there anywhere they can find you for that if they want? Just whatever you want to say. Now's your time.
First thing, yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This time flew by. We could probably sit here all day and chat. So thanks for having me on. It was great to catch up. Place I hang out the most online is probably Instagram. You can find me there, Grant Truesdell, at Grant Truesdell, Truesdell. We've got a reissue, remix, and remastered Time Stand Still coming out very soon. We're just putting out the yearbook, so watch out for that. And we're currently writing an EP right now as well. So there's some stuff happening behind the scenes, and look forward to getting back out there and playing some shows for people.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I hope to see you guys again soon. Hopefully whatever tours you guys do brings you to the California way, and yeah, man, like I said, everybody go follow Grant. He's an awesome guy. I've known him for years on a personal level. I love this man. He's gotten me through many times, so I can't say enough nice things about him. So please go follow his stuff. If you want to join a community of rhythm guitarists where we kind of help each other out, lift each other up, find the Discord link in the About Me section or wherever it is. Give me a follow. We're having more of these coming out, and we're working on building a community around rhythm guitarists. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun, man. So this is a new adventure, but I hope to see you guys there, and I'll see you on the next episode.